Alright, g'day guys, and welcome back tonight to another Campaign Cartographer 3 Plus video. Tonight we're going to be looking at how to create custom buttons. For anyone who's in the Facebook group, you will notice that we've been having a bit of a discussion around the Big Book of Maps lately. It's a Kickstarter that was running where the cartographer is offering a couple of hundred icons for use in your own maps. He creates maps and he just basically packages up the symbols he uses to make his maps, and as part of the Kickstarter reward you can get a copy of those symbols. And I managed to pick up that with the license to use them in the maps I make as well, so for commercial purposes. So pretty happy with my purchase. I got the Big Book of Maps 1 and the Big Book of Maps 2, and he's delivered on the Big Book of Maps 1 already because that's been completed, and now I get the excitement of waiting to see what comes out of the Big Book of Maps 2. So let's jump over and have a look, and I'll show you what I'm talking about because I'm enjoying it, that's for sure. Alright, so in front of me you can see Campaign Cartographer 3 Plus with the map I'm working on. And on the left here you can see some of the symbols, but more importantly up here you can see the buttons I've added in. You can click the buttons and it brings up a menu, and you can click those to basically load up all the symbols that are available. Alright, so there's some really good symbols in here, and the thing I like about them is they're quite compatible with a lot of the other symbols that I've used. You can see I've got maps buttons for the Big Book of Maps 1, I've got buttons for the Big Books of Map 2, and I've also got one here for the Planet Portfolio, which is like an additional add-on that came with this pack. So I thought it was fantastic value. I think I picked this up for about $100. They are still selling it, by the way, so I can include a link to that in the description. But for this many symbols, I thought it was a great buy. But let's get to the point of this, is how to put these buttons into Campaign Cartographer 3 Plus, because this is not an easy process, guys. I'm going to warn you right now. This does involve basically doing some editing of text files. Alright, but anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to open up File Explorer, and we're going to go to C drive, and we're going to go to wherever we've got it installed. So I've got everything in Program Data, Pro Fantasy, CC3 Plus. Once we're in here, basically there's a few different files that are sort of really important. Now, there is one in here. I think it's this fcw.32.msc file. If we open this, I'm going to edit with Notepad++. You could use just standard Notepad, but Notepad++ is a lot easier. Actually, I think I got the wrong file here. I really do. What the is MNC files, I think it is. Or is it the menu? There you go, it's the menu file, sorry guys, fcw32.mnu. And if you open that and just open it in a text editor, you'll basically see there's a whole heap of lines of text in here. Alright, now I wouldn't expect people to understand exactly what's going on here, but to give you the nuts and bolts, there's one of these files, these MNU files, for each add-on that exists within Realmworks. Okay, so you're going to find that there's one for cities. Same thing. Alright, I've got them already open here. This is why I use Notepad++, by the way. It's got a tab system. There was one for Cosmographer. There's one for the Dungeon Designer here somewhere. I've got all this extra stuff that's open here. I use this for all sorts of stuff. There's the MU, there's the Dungeon one. Alright. But basically what this is saying is there's a bit of code in here that basically says, and these are my buttons here, what it's saying is it's spot 737, which just happens to be this line here on, I think it's the custom toolbar 3, puts it right there. It's saying at that spot I'm going to use a picture. I'm going to call it the Big Book of Maps, and if I hover my mouse over that, you'll see that's what it says. I've told it what to say, and when I click this button I want this menu to open. Alright, so there's not really that much to it, and I got to admit, the first time I looked at this I was like, whoa, that's a lot of stuff going on and it looks really confusing. But what we're going to do is we're just going to prepare this and break it down. So the first thing I did was create my icons that I wanted to use. Now if you go into bitmaps, go into icons, you'll see there's a heap of these things. And the way I figured this out was looking here and looking at the CSAC packs and these other ones and looking at where they're getting their icons for. And I was like, okay, alright, so that one there is what they're using for one of their buttons, and they've obviously got that from the icons folder. So let's go and have a look in there, and then you can find them. And what you generally find is that all the icons have full versions of everything. So what I did was I opened a file in GIMP. GIMP is a free imaging program you can get. If you've got PaintShop Pro, you can probably use that as well, or there's probably other stuff out there. But the point of it being is you want to take an image that you want to use. You could just use one of the ones that are here already if you want, by the way, you don't have to do this. But basically you want to take one of the images that was here already and you want to resize it into 4 different sizes. So 48 pixels by 48 pixels, 32 by 32, 24 by 24, and the final one is 16 by 6. Alright, now the naming convention here is important. You can name it whatever you want. Alright, for the first smaller one, the 16 by 6. The 24 by 24 must have 24 at the end, 32 must have 32 at the end, 48 must have 48 at the end. And as you can see here, this is now open. I could basically go image and I can go canvas size, and I can see this is 48 by 48. If you did have an image you wanted to use, basically what you could do is you go image and you go scale image, and you could enter in your sizes here. You hit OK or hit scale, and then you hit export, and you export as, and it's got to be a BMP. Alright, so you're exporting as a BMP. You're making sure that the sizes you're making have the right number at the end. So 48 by 48 has 48 at the end, 32 by 32 has 32 at the end, 24 by 24 has 24 at the end, but the 16 doesn't have anything other than the name that you've used in all of them. Alright, so I hope that makes sense, because the first time I did this, I only made the first one, and it did not work. I was getting a blank button. You do have to make all 4 for it to show up, and I assume that's because it's picking up one of these bigger buttons and using them. Anyway, so make your icons or use ones that you want, that's fine. Then what you're going to come in here and you do is you basically, ignore that. What we're going to do next is actually prepare the menu. So the menu files, these confuse me for a little bit. So what it's actually saying here is it's going to run a menu, and then that menu file is going to be here. So if we open up our file again, we're going to go to back to CC+. I'm going to go to menus. So there's menu, and inside this file you'll notice that it's got these MNC files. And if we just look back here, wrong button, you'll see it's referring to an MMC file. So bbm2_pp.mnc. Keep opening up the wrong window. So these are the ones I created here. And what we can do is we can actually just look up on any of these if we like and see what they are. You just open them with a text editor. Alright, and as you can see, they've got all these different options, and they're really easy to understand. It just took me a little bit of time. So I'll open up mine. Actually, we'll open up the bigger one. It's more interesting. Alright, so this is my big book of maps one. Just copy the format, literally. So you give it a name, followed by colon. Then it's got some of these dashes, followed by a colon. Literally just copy another file and edit it. So you literally just come in here and edit that bit. Don't edit this. Alright, then just create a new line for every option in your menu. And by that I mean when you press your button, what options do you want to appear? So doors and passages and the furniture and shelving, for example. Doors and passages, furniture and shelving. Alright, so that's what it's saying. This is an option in my menu. When clicked, I want you to do this. And what it's doing is it's saying, I want you to open up a catalog that I have saved. And we'll do this so you guys can see it. That I have saved in symbols, users, big book of maps, fantasy, and then bbm_map icons 01. Doors and passages.fsc. Alright, so there is a symbol catalog that I've already made. Now I haven't done a video on that, but I will in the future. But there are some videos on YouTube already on how to make your own custom symbol catalogs. Basically, they'll walk you through the process of doing an FSC video. Actually, you know what? Stuff it. Let's go through that process now. We'll open up CC3+. And we're going to go File. We're going to go New, and we're going to go Symbol Catalogs. Oh, I'm not a pro on this, by the way. Not even close. I'm going to pick a predefined template actually. I'm going to use that blank dungeon one. Alright, it's got me a nice blank dungeon. It's green, there's nothing in here. And what we're basically doing here, you'll see it's called map.fcw. I'm actually just going to save this as a proper file. Where did I put these? We're going to go symbols, user. I'm just going to do it here. My symbol catalog. I'm going to save that. Then I'm going to go symbols. I'm going to import PNGs. I'm going to leave this to relatives to CC3+, and I'm going to make sure that the symbols I use are inside. So I've already put my Age of Empires stuff in here, for example. So I'm going to put my Age of Empires, I'm going to pick those. I'm going to put the symbol origin in the middle. I'm going to create other resolutions, which will create high-res versions of these. I'm going to make sure that alpha transparency is picked on my bitmap options. You can play with the highest resolution. I don't really understand a lot about this yet, but this is basically determining how much of these, the space these symbols will take up, I think. So that could be really important. I'm going to do some research on that. Click OK. You'll see it's processed those files. You'll see there's now over here that they're in the map. All right. And what we do now is we go symbols, symbol manager. And you can see I've got the symbols in my symbol manager. And what I do is I click the top one, I hold shift, and I click the bottom one. That selects them all. I click options. And what I want to do is I want to force these onto a sheet. So I'm going to go force them onto the symbol sheet. I'm going to put my wildcard there just in case I want to mess with that later. Click OK. I'm going to press this Save as Catalog button up the top here. This is where it's really handy. So my symbol catalogue.fsc. So we can save that there. And there we go. I now have a symbol catalog inside of this folder here called my symbol catalog.fsw and my symbol catalogues.fsc. So just to show you how this works, all right, just to, let's say, add a menu item. This is how easy it is. Then what we can do is I'm going to copy that text there, paste. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the name, and I'm just going to replace this bit here because we don't need anything else. Then I get rid of everything, so I make sure that the path is right because it's under my user file. So copy address as text if you want, just to make sure you can see that that is right. Helps when it works. No. There we go. Alright, so I only need to start at symbols because it's basically starting inside the CC3+. This at symbol says I want to start in CC3+ and then go straight to the ats folder, the symbols folder, sorry. So I just need to go symbols, user, and then put the name of the catalog. Alright, now we can basically click save. Alright, now what was this? This is the big book of maps. So, voila. See, it's updated already. My symbols catalog is there. I now have Age of Empires symbols that I can bring into my map. It's really, that's all there is to it. Like, it's that hard to add the button. Alright, and that's how to modify the menu. I'm just going to get rid of that because I don't really want that. That's the menu. Now there's a next step to this, obviously, that we went through before, which is how to add the buttons. If we go through, and I'm looking at the SS4 one now, which is the Dungeons of Schley, you can see what I can do down here is I can go, I'm going to copy the whole line actually. I'm going to go 737 because that's the next space that's available. I'm going to change the icon just for the fun of it. It's under bitmaps, icons, and I reckon that I need that house icon. I am going to copy that in here and replace that bit there, just that file name. I'm going to call this no idea what I'm making. the button. Alright, and when that loads, what I want it to do is I want it to load up the menu that I made before. So in this case here, I've made those files, I've saved them inside that menu folder as a MNC file. Remember, they are just text files, but just saved as that. And I do it twice because that's how they work. I click save, and now I can go over to CC3+, and I'm just going to trigger a change. I'm going to go back into Dungeons of Slay. Oh, look, there's a new button. And when I press it, it loads up the Planet Portfolio. So why is it doing that? Because it's linking to the Planet Portfolio menu. Alright, and if we have a look at the Planet Portfolio menu, there's only one option in there. So again, what we could do in here, in this file, is we could copy this, my symbols, and we could grab my symbol catalog.fsc. It's here. Save that. And don't forget, I'm saving it in that file as an MMC. So just to make sure that's very clear for you guys, it's in the menu file, saved in here as whatever.mnc. It's just a text file though. And you come in here, button's there, and I can press it, and it's there. Now notice that both of these buttons do the same thing. Alright, if I wanted to create my own, for example, I could just copy this and say mine, and then if I was to edit this one and take out, let's take out that, and let's call this my symbols, and save. Now I need to change the way that button is linking. So from on here, where I think we called it mine, click save. Did I do that right? Yep, no, that's right. So I'm just going to change. I think I've got to re-trigger this to make it work. There you go, my symbols, and that will now load this catalog. And that's it, guys. It's pretty easy once you understand how it's configured, and you go through the process. But for anyone who's not used to this sort of thing, it's probably quite complex. Now, the other gotcha is that every add-on has a different MNU file. Okay, so city.mnu, cosmographer, dungeonographer, Dungeons of Slay, and then there's the standard one as well, which is the FCW. So you notice that I've actually put my own menus into all of these. Alright, I've had to go through and do that. Now, I would probably recommend getting an update of these just in case any, backup of these just in case any future updates do come along and wipe these out. It certainly could happen. Get rid of that and save that because I don't actually want that button. And you'll notice now that if I do a reset, it's now gone. Alright, so there's not really that much to it, but it is a very powerful feature. And obviously, if you've got your own catalogues, you could sort of go through and make them, set them up however you like. Or even, maybe you could create a button to load up your favorite annual, for example. Actually, let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at that because that could be a good idea. So if we've got annuals with like the ones that we commonly use, there's an FCW. Where do they create? It's just me thinking out loud now. Maps. Yeah, there's all the FSC files. Alright, so Let's do a button just as an example for an annual of the sun. What we're going to do, we're going to come into CC3+, come into menus. What you can do is just copy any one of these, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to call this annual of the sun. Actually, I'm going to call this annual button. Yeah, I've got an idea. Here's a good idea. Alright, so I've got my annuals. I'm going to delete everything but one because I really need one to copy. Oh, this is a dangerous idea. Okay, Pro Fantasy, CC3+, symbols. We're going to go into maps, Alyssa Faden. I'm going to copy the address as text. And then I'm going to go back to symbols. I'm going to replace all this. Then I'm going to come back into here and I'm going to grab the file that I want, which is the one with all the things in it. I'm going to replace that there. And I'm going to call this Alyssa Faden Overland. I think you'll figure out what I'm about to do. Let's go the annual black and white. Now I'm going to create a copy of this line. I'm going to come back to symbols. I'm going to delete that in there. Well, let's just get rid of that. We'll grab the FSCW. What was that one called? That is an annual black and white fantasy. Alright, let's speed this up. Now I've got 5 of those options. So we're going to come back here, we're going to go 1930s Overland. Copy to symbols. It's probably a bit repetitive, but you know, this is sometimes how you learn. I'll do 5 and then we'll carry on. Just going to position that where I want it. Two more to go, and obviously you can do whatever you want with yours, but I'm thinking this is going to be pretty cool. Alright, one more to go. And then we need, oh, it doesn't have an all one. That's a bit annoying. Mercator does. We'll use him because he's got an all. I do prefer it when they've got one that's got everything in it, for sure. Now, some of you might be noticing that I forgot to do something, and that is to put the names here. So we can just put those in. "1930s Overland." There we go. I could create a button for annual 1 or annual 2 or whatever. Anyway, button's done. I've saved it. Excellent. Now I need to put that into my button. I'm going to put it in the FCW 32 because that's the one that I'm going to use for your overland styles, which is majority what I just put in. I'm going to put it on 738. I'm going to set my icon. Bitmaps. Got any cool icons? There we go. What's that? Cos Planet. Quite like that. I'm going to set my icon to the Cos Planet. I'm going to call this CC3 Plus Annuals. And I'm going to link that to my menu file. So I go back to the menu folder. Where did I call that? CC3 Plus Annuals. Grab the file name. I'm going to replace that in here. I'm going to replace that in here. Then I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back to CC3 Plus. I'm going to load up standard. And voila, I've got a new button. And look what happens when I press it. 1930s Overland. The fade-in style. Dark Realms. Empire of the Sun. And the Mercator Overland style. So I'm sure that's enough to get you guys a little bit excited about what we could possibly do here. I will have to go through and replicate that button in every one of these files. So just to show you what that would look like. So if I put it into the city menu and save it, put it into the Cosmo menu and save it, put it into the dungeons. Save and Dungeons of Schley and save it. If you don't have all the add-ons, you obviously won't need to do this, but now you can see I've got it. My button is in all these different add-ons. Excuse me. It's in these other add-ons as well. Alright, there we go, guys. So that is how you basically create a button or a custom button in CC3 Plus to do, well, to load up a symbol catalog. Be that a symbol catalog that you make yourself of your own custom imported symbols, or be that a symbol catalog that exists already and you just want an easier way to link it. I almost wish that Pro Fantasy would actually just have this button installed already for the annuals. I think that'd make life easier for everyone. But anyway, I hope you found this video useful. I hope you can make some really cool, amazing buttons out of it. You know, maybe one day I'll figure out a way to share this and we can just give this out to anyone. But yeah, if you do find this video enjoyable, if you do find these videos useful, please do subscribe. The more subscribers, the better. I'm fighting my way back up to 1,000 subscribers, so YouTube will pay me my 2 cents per video. Again, just for the fun of it. You know, why not? But anyway, guys, I will speak to you on the forums. Have a good night.